Hi there, and welcome to the assignment from Appendix C, found in Matrices, Vectors, and 3D Math, a game programming approach with MATLAB. And we're going to grab a file out of the code repository under the zip folder, Appendix C, a quick guide to MATLAB. Right, and so let's go to the book and see what this is telling us to do. So basically the assignment here is a chance to go through all of the stuff you hopefully learned in the first 5 parts of this appendix. And it's just playing around with MATLAB. And this is sort of a fun assignment that lets you just experiment with the different commands, functions, plotting, things like that. And so the file that you'll grab out of that repository when you run it will create this collection of face parts, and then it'll be up to you to create your own face. All right, and so what I want to get at here are some tricks, and I'll go through the face starter program in a second, but some tricks for creating your face or your graphs are here. First off, you're probably going to want to draw an ellipse or a circle. And if you do so, you're going to want to do that in parametric form. You do not want to do that in y equals f of x. So remember, an ellipse with center x0, y0, and a radius on the x-axis of r sub x and a radius on the y-axis of r sub y is defined parametrically, where x looks like that, y looks like this, and you're letting t go from 0 to 2 pi. So you're doing a full circle, but the x and y radius values right here, r sub x and r sub y, change it from a circle into an ellipse, provided they are different. And you do this part with the linspace command in MATLAB. If you have a function, y equals f of x, and you know what that looks like, but you want to move it around or adjust it, there's some things you can do. If you add a variable to that function, it moves it up that many, or down that many if it's negative. If you actually subtract a value from x within the function, that moves the graph to the right this many units, a units. If you stick a negative in front, it flips it around the x-axis. Stick a negative inside the function, but in front of x, it flips it around the y-axis. And then you can scale that graph by a constant, stretching it taller if a is bigger than 1 and making it shorter if it's less than 1. When you get all done, if you want your axes, if you want to specify your axes, remember there's the axis command that provides a minimum and a maximum on x, and then a minimum and maximum on y. Make sure you get that order correct. If you mix it up, it won't do anything like you want it to. If you want to set your axis equal so that circles look like circles, remember to use the axis equal command. And one other little thing that's worth pointing out, order does matter. If you want to set your axes and make them equal, make sure you set them equal first and then define the axes. Otherwise, if you define the axes first and then set equal, it will scale, or it will change the axes to accommodate the equal requirement. Okay, so let's pull up that file. And again, you want to go to the textbook web page, grab this zipped folder, and pull up my face starter file, right? And so once you have my face starter open, first thing I like to do is run it. And the figure will be here. It's actually, there's a question in the command window. So I'm going to nest this thing, or dock it, right down there. You'll notice there's something from the command window. Do you want a smile or a frown? Well, I'll go with a smile. Click 1, hit enter. And there's my face parts. Right, I'm going to go into a little bit of the details of how all these face parts were created. But as you can see, you're getting some input from the command window before I actually draw the face. And so for the sake of making this figure a little bigger, I'm going to take the command window, I'm going to bring it over here and just tab it with the program editor, right? So now I have my program and the results, right? So the first thing, I do some clearing so that I don't get, so I'm working with sort of a clean slate. And then I have this variable I call smile, and that was that input. When I typed in, when the command window requested smile or frown, that was done through this input command. And so you typed a 1 or 0, and that was stored in the variable smile. All right, and so right away we're going to make this this parabola right over here. As you can see, it's in the shape of a smile. And so basically I'm going to let x go from negative 2.5 to 2.5. And the parabola is just going to be x squared. But that was too big, so I multiplied it by 0.4, sort of shrunk it down a little bit. Remember, when I do the x squared, I do the dot squared, so that it does it term by term. And then I have an if statement here. If smile equals 1, then I'm good. And I just take my parabola and bump it up by 5. So it's no longer centered at 0, 0. It's now at 0, 5. So else, and this is how the if command works, it's just if else. If there was other options, there's also else if, but there's only 2 options here. So if it's not smile, it must be frown. So what I do is I multiply my parabola by negative 1, flips it upside down, but then I still raise it 5 units. So if I had done this, if I had ran it, and it was over here, smile or frown, if I had said frown, enter, I would have got frown. Looks just like that other one, only going the other direction. Okay, and then I plot my mouth, whether depending on whether, my y values are determined on whether I'm smiling or frowning. But after I determine which one it is, I just plot it using the plot command. Red circle, marker face green, and hold on because I'm going to plot a whole bunch of other things. This triangle is right here, and I just basically put in the x coordinates of the various vertices, and notice I have there's going to be negative 2, that's for this one, 3, 0, and I have to go back into that negative 2 so that whenever I do plot this triangle, it connects. Because if I didn't repeat that first point, the line would just go from the first point to the second to the third and stop. So I put in a 4th point, which is actually just a repeat of the first. Right, so there's the x values for that triangle. Here's the y values. And I didn't, I just created those from my head. They're not in any particular place. So then I plot triangle x, triangle y, and I look like I'm doing red stars with a line between them. Right? So the stars you can see are at each point, and then there's a line between them, and I make it a fat line. And then the hair is just this sine curve up here. I'm going from negative 6 to negative 3. I'll put 100 points. And my y values are the sine of 10. So basically, that 10 makes a higher frequency, makes the sine wave oscillate faster. And then I bump it up by 16. So it winds up here. And I plot him. All right? The eyebrow, this is just the square root function, but I need to move it over 2 and up, 16. So here's the square root function, but I start with x going from 2 to 4. X goes from 2 to 4 with 10 points, right? That's the linspace. X goes from 2 to 4, 10 equally spaced points. But now I'm going to take the square root of x, but I'm subtracting it from 2 because I want it to look like that square root that goes from 0 to 2 and not 2 to 4. Right? And then I bump it up by 16. So that gives me my little eyebrow up here. And then I plot it. And then my face, which might contain all my other parts, is actually this ellipse here. So I have to go from, I make a parameter t, linspace 0 to 2 pi, I'll take 50. And then the x values will be 6 cos t, y values will be 1 sine t, so it's an ellipse with x radius 6, y radius 1, and the center is at 0, 10. Then I plot my face, I put in a title, make sure my axes are equal so that if I have a circle in there, it'll look like a circle, and an ellipse will look like the appropriate ellipse, and then I put my axes in there. And so the assignment is to, start with this, but play around with it. Maybe add an animation, get some input and output from the figure, or some input from the figure. Maybe you click on it to place a nose somewhere, maybe animate something so things move around. You know, have fun with it. You can't really do anything wrong, but there are some minimum requirements. So that's the Make Your Face assignment from Appendix C in the MATLAB portion of this textbook. All right, good luck. Have fun with the assignment. I hope you do well.